So I know in a lot of our seminars, we don't tend to cover what we originally studied for is in chiropractic and how the spine relates to disease process, even though we know it's ingrained in us. I know we don't share it enough to our patients. So I thought I'd look back and go back through history and see what most has talked about with chiropractic. This has been around for years and years and years and years. Hippocrates back then had said, get knowledge of the spine, for this is the requisite for many diseases. He also had a gentleman that he, skip forward real quick, Herodotus, I think that's how you say his name. He was criticized by Hippocrates because he would do spinal adjustments. And Hippocrates always used tonics to fix disease. Well, what Herodotus did is he believed that if he couldn't get somebody better by therapeutic exercise, then he would adjust spinally. And that was working back in 1500 BC. I thought that was quite amazing that, chiropractic goes back a long time. Yes, chiropractic was founded in the United States in 1895 by D.B. Palmer. He was the one that first did the adjustment on Harvey Lillard, who had complained of hearing loss after he had bent over and felt something pop in his back. And then D.B. Palmer had been studying how, well, he's a magnetic healer back then, he was studying how the spine related to and where nerves came out of the spine. And he had asked Harvey if he could do an adjustment on him and try something, and he did the specific adjustment in the upper back, and he had found that over the next couple days, Harvey Lillard had said he could start to hear again. So his hearing actually came back just due to that spinal subluxation. So chiropractic premises is really about the diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of musculoskeletal disorders. So that can be anything related to the spine, musculoskeletal. The most important part of our body is the spine. The only part of your nervous system is all covered in bone. And it's the one area still that we cannot replace. We can do kidney transplants, we can put in fake knees, we can put in fake elbows if we needed to. And now they're starting to find that we can inject the disc spaces of our vertebra and help to stop compression there, but we still haven't figured out how do we completely put in a vertebra there and continue keeping the range of motion there to allow the nervous system to continue to work with the organs in the body. So one of the most important parts of the body, and it is very, very cost effective to use chiropractic to help heal diseases. There are so many research articles out there, 256 when I looked on PubMed, and PubMed does mostly peer-reviewed journals. And 256 of those had to do with spinal manipulation and exercise. Looking through the majority of them, the cost effectiveness of exercise compared to spinal manipulation, there was all a better benefit with cost effective than just doing exercise alone. So in PubMed, the 2004 research study, which I thought was the most interesting, it was done in York, the United Kingdom, and they had done over 1,300 patients in this study. And what they did, they broke them up evenly into spinal manipulation and exercise in just an exercise group. And they found that the spinal manipulation group with exercise achieved more muscle bulk, strength, and less pain throughout the 12 weeks of the study compared to those just doing exercise. Energy also increased during that time. So it was very neat to see that, hey, we are doing studies on this. I know we don't touch on it enough.
Dr. Stacey, yes. Why do you think that would be? That if you get adjusted, the exercise, you get more of me?
Well, because one, it restores a lot of the endurance and the integrity of a G-trained muscle. So say we've been sedentary for a while. Very important that we start out slow. So exercise helps to increase the blood flow to an area. Say we have an injury. The exercise, if you do therapeutic exercise, along with adjustments to where the nerve comes from in the spine to that muscle, so say we got our biceps, we have to work all the way back up in here in the neck, where the innervation comes from, to help stimulate the growth in the blood vessels down in the biceps. It helps also prevent neuromuscular fibrinous adhesions. So when you get an adhesion in a muscle, so a lot of people will think of them as trigger points. Anyone who's been our patient, you've had a stick in your leg? Does anybody know how painful it is? Very painful. So those are trigger points that go in there, and those are fibrinous adhesions. Those fibrinous adhesions need blood flow to work their way out. Stretching also helps. How many people don't stretch before they exercise? We've got a few honest people. Oh, that's good. Just a little. So those fibrous adhesions can stop the muscle from going through its normal contraction. So if you have a shorter than normal contraction of what the body is supposed to do, that's going to also lock down a joint. And that locking down of that joint is going to decrease the integrity of that spinal unit or joint unit where it's at. And that can also lead to osteoarthritis, joint pains. Everybody see where I'm going now? It also helps to retrain. Chiropractic can help retrain a muscle group by just allowing that body part to move the way it's supposed to. If you have a restriction in a nerve and the nerve is being pressed on, think of a garden hose, and if you were to put a rock on the garden hose, you may not notice much water decrease from that garden hose, but say I drive my car over that garden hose and I set it there, is the water going to come out of the hose? No. So over time, if I left the hose on and I'm trying to water the grass, my grass is going to get dry and dead and wither up, and then I'm not going to have any lawn anymore. Well, that's the exact same thing that happens when we have a subluxation or a rotation of a vertebral unit in the spine. It's like having a car sitting on your garden hose. It can either be a rock or it can be a car tire. Depends on the extent of the injury and the extent of the problem that's going on there. And over time, the body does try to fix this. Your body has a great intelligence called the innate intelligence. It tries to fix what's going on. And if it doesn't, that's when symptoms show up. Symptoms show up when the body is 90% taxed. So you only have about 10% capacity left. So when we get that muscle ache and pain and it's starting to really give us numbness and tingling, it's going to take a lot longer than just a couple adjustments and the pain is gone for the complete healing to go. And that's why we need the exercise to continue the healing. We also can restore aerobic capacity of the muscle and blood flow here. So that is wonderful for somebody who, when you first start working out, yes, we know it's painful. It does last for a week or two, some people a little longer depending on, what kind of disease situation we have going on or deficiencies that are in the body. You can also restore the confidence in yourself. So if anybody's ever had a shoulder injury, which are probably the most common with patients, I get a lot of patients that say, my shoulder locked up. So it hurts to do this. So I just stopped doing this. Well, how do you do your hair with just one hand? If you're a female. So, and I always tell patients, don't stop using it. You need to use it. That's what keeps the things going. If you stop using it, allow it just to be fixated, well, this is all you're going to have left. So that's why we start a lot of our patients on adjusting the shoulders, working with what we call our Kinesiotape, or doing exercises specifically for that region. With the Kinesiotape, I'm taped up today. This is the downside of working on large animals. They push back pretty hard. So I'm taped up today because I popped my elbow out the other day. My radial head is a little sore. So I had Dr. denBoer tape me up. The tape, Kinesiotape tape has been around for how many years now? 10?
A little more than that even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Developed by a chiropractor. And what it has is if I actually pulled the tape off, you'd see little lines underneath it. And those lines help to separate the muscle layer from the fascia tissue that's underneath. And by doing that separation, increases white blood cells to the area and allows healing to the muscles that have been damaged due to my strain. Also had it adjusted so it's in place so that I'm not taping it in the wrong motion. But the nice thing is he taped it 15 minutes ago, and I can already feel the separation happening in the muscle. And I know by tomorrow I won't feel any pain in my elbow at all.
It's pretty remarkable stuff, and the concept's so simple. I first saw it used in Tour de France. We saw this weird tape, and look at this summer on TV especially when they're going into the Alps where the conditions become extreme, and watch their legs. Oftentimes they use pink tape there, very specific for Tour de France guys. It's more sweat resistant. And it's amazing how they can get these guys back on their bikes when the muscles have failed, just using Kinesiotape. I know stock car drivers are using it in their neck because they're constantly bouncing all those high G's around corners, injuring the neck. So it's finally become very commonplace in the US also, but it really took off in Europe. I'd say about 15 years ago. And you can now even buy kits in pharmacies there, just over the counter for menstrual cramps that you can put on, sinus infections, headaches, just specific kits that are cut specifically. And it is pretty amazing how fast you can find relief just with this stuff, Kinesiotape. Yeah.
We're hoping that we find it more in schools with sports, because we're using it a lot in our professional sports arenas, and hopefully they'll start using it more on our younger kids, where most of the injuries that happen there tend to be more lifelong, because we kind of poo-poo it, oh, they're young, they'll grow out of it, it's not a problem. Also, the nice thing about chiropractic and exercise is there's a big pain reduction. 256 research articles did support the pain reduction from chiropractic and spinal manipulation, or spinal manipulation and exercise, excuse me. So very, very exciting about what we do. I know we don't get very excited about it because we're so into the rest of what you have to do, because you're also in charge of the exercise, you're in charge of the eating, and you're really not in charge of the spinal manipulation, which we are in charge of. So we try to spend more time what you spend your day doing all day long, because that's also important on what happens, because health is affected by everything in your environment. And that everything means that what you're eating, how you're eating, when you're eating, what you're exercising, when you're sleeping. And the biggest thing that, a take home to start out with tonight, and I really want you to keep it in the back of your head as we're going through this, is we really don't have a choice in exercise. It's like eating and sleeping. It's something that your body has to have. You can go for so long without exercising, but at some point your body's going to start telling you that it needs help. And the exercise is the way to pick it back up. Heart disease. Why do we have so much heart disease in this country? We've become more sedentary. We have to rely on computers, we rely on sitting at a desk, and instead of getting out and doing things to keep our cardiovascular, our muscles moving, then we end up with these diseases down the road. Unfortunately, we're seeing them earlier and earlier, and we are taking out more of our physical activities in our schools. So something that we really need to put into our days in the mornings. It's a schedule thing. You don't have an option of whether you got to go to work. If you're going or you're not going to get paid, right? So
it's an interesting,
same way.
It's an interesting study that was published this weekend. I don't know if it was actually published in the newspapers. That showed for patients, for people who exercise 5 days a week, an hour, the study was a half hour to an hour, and went to a more vegetarian diet. By the time that they are 60, are 12 years younger on average than the ones that do not. 12 years. Wow. Add some other things to it, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And we know that to be true with some of our patients. This exercise business is a must-do, and the benefits are unbelievable.
And we're looking for the fountain of youth every day. I think that's probably pretty darn close. I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit.
Thanks. So, yes, why exercise? Anti-aging, absolutely. It's not about extending life. It's about making that flame burn bright, right now, for, yes, a long time if we can. Studies suggest that we do not extend life by exercising, but we definitely prevent shortening life. Does that make sense? And the benefits are so obvious so quick. If you are 300 pounds, you are a total couch potato, and all you do is the 10-minute exercise program once a week that Dr. Stacey and I will show you in a bit, which will become your foundation that you're going to be able to expand on. If all they do is that, they will see benefits in just 1 month. More energy, brain fog clearing, hormones balancing, antidepressant. Talk about antidepressant. German study got published. This was a very large study where they took thousands of severely depressed male and females and figured out one group, drug therapy, the other group, counseling, third group, exercise. You know exercise won just because I mentioned it, right? But exercise won by far. It wasn't even close. And so it's incredible what it does for the brain as well. Just merely lifting weights, 10 minutes twice a week, you will reap added energy within 2, maybe 3 weeks. and it becomes this self-fulfilling thing where you just get more and more enthused about it, and after a while, you don't want to miss it. You do not want to miss it. So what is the best way to exercise? Well, the best way to exercise is very controversial. So what I did is I went to the very peak of capacity, the very peak of what humans are capable of, and study what they do. Lance Armstrong is one example. Here's a guy who was at death's door. They estimated he was about 40 days away from dying, and he looked like a skeleton. And then comes back, and a year later wins Tour de France, world's toughest race. How does he do it? Well, he's a natural athlete for one. They say even if he became a full couch potato, his aerobic capacity would exceed those of us that run 10 miles every day. Just being a couch potato. He's built that way. He's got huge lungs. He's got incredible strong. He has an incredible, powerful heart. Its capacity is about 3 times that of most of us. He also has multiple mitochondria in those muscles, which are little fuel cells. So he's got natural capability. They say there's perhaps only 100 other human beings that have that kind of capability in the world. Add to that, lots of willpower, very steely determination, a will to win, and the smartest of smart in training techniques that Chris Carmichael, his coach, has provided. And we're going to talk about that.
He also uses the hair.
Yes, yes. He does, and I'll talk about that. Thanks. Jeff Spencer is his name. So Lance does not like lifting weights. He's one of the few cyclists that does. Lance really puts out his training programs 3 times a week, about 15 minutes on weights. But this boy makes it count. This boy really makes it count. He does about 1 or 2 sets each. Jeff Spencer is his personal doctor and also a chiropractic physician, heads the entire cycling team, and has designed this, this program for him. I'm lucky enough to know Jeff Spencer very well personally. Look at the weights that he's carrying there. I could maybe do half of that once. There's incredible power in those legs. But it's also those legs that allows him to pass virtually anybody in the Alps at will when he decides to. And it's almost a frightening thing to behold when he goes up Alpe d'Huez, which is a switchback which goes back and forth 180 times. It's one of the steepest mountain switchbacks. And he just looks at somebody, accelerates, and they're gone. And this is after having traveled about 1,000 miles already in a few weeks' time. This, by the way, is not a 10-pound weight. Tell me, what do you think it is? 50 or 60? Yeah. His breaks between sets are 30 seconds, by the way, so it's very aerobic. And he just keeps going. Notice that his gym is very sparse. This is his garage, by the way. And right behind this machine are kettlebells. But this is everything that he has except his bicycle. Notice the speed that he's doing this. Yeah? He's looking for explosive power, and he also doesn't have much time to waste. This really works the back extensors and his core. So Lance has been able to shorten his workout schedule by 50% over the last 10 years and continue to increasingly put out more watts on his rear wheel, more power, and keeps on winning. Yet decreasing the amount of workout time, which is a good thing because you can see he is aging because of these workouts. Yeah? Exercise at this kind of level produces huge amounts of oxidative stress, and it is very tough on you. And it's just, in one race, he can lose about 12 pounds of fluid. It's just a very hard thing. He finishes the Tour de France with 3 to 4% body fat. He starts it at 12. He cannot keep weight on him. They shove 12 to 14,000 calories a day into this man to try to keep up his weight while he's doing this. So it is incredible. How does he do it? Chris Carmichael Nope. This one. Chris Carmichael has figured out the time available. Say, how are we going to do this, Lance? There's only so many hours a day. And he does it by interval training. Chris Carmichael has taken what the Russians Olympics pioneered for us in the 1950s and 60s, refined it, applied it to him personally by doing very careful measurements in lactic acid and all kinds of hookups, oxygen, carbon monoxide, dioxide, perfusion, and figured out what makes Lance tick, when does he burn fat, when does he burn glycogen, and he figured out that if he can get Lance to maximum heart rate, which by the way is 204 beats a minute, for 3 minutes once a week, he activates every single muscle fiber that's applicable to competition, and that's all he needs to do to maintain his peak power. On top of that, he staggers his workout through the week, increasing every week higher and higher, small amount, high amount. Next day, small amount, high amount. And then every week goes up, and then every 4th week, drop down to almost nothing. Rest week. Work on technique, make sure that you're in the wind tunnel, just doing things other than what he's doing, and then start again. So things are continuously staggered. That's how he has been able to extract the most out of his body. So Lance does not work a 9-to-5 job for a living. Yeah? He has a dismal personal life because of this total devotion to this. I don't admire that personal life at all. I just admire the competitiveness and what he's able to accomplish. Now, I've yet to find a patient who's coming to me, says, Doc, you know, I had a little too much time to kick around. Just got too much time. Design an exercise program for me just to fill my time. I have been in practice here 22 years. I have not seen that yet. So, obviously that's not the issue. The issue is, Doc, where do I find the time? How do I do this? And you've got to make the time. You've heard this time and time again. There is no other way to do it. But I can promise you one thing. When you exercise, you will get more time back than you put in easily by the end of the 2nd week. So if you're putting in 15 minutes a day, you will have accomplished at least an hour's worth more of stuff than you normally would on that day, if not more. You will need less sleep by the 3rd week. You will have more overall willpower to do everything more effectively by the 6th week. It is incredible how much time exercise creates. And it creates stability on an emotional front, spiritual front, as well as physical front. This goes all directions. Why would you not want to exercise? It is incredible how it resets the button for your body and for your brain. It's just you got to go out there and do it. The best time to do it by far, for us busy folks, is first thing in the morning, before breakfast. So if you get up at 6 o'clock, how about getting up at 5:45? Just 15 minutes early. And do the 10-minute workout that Dr. Stacey and I will show you in a bit. Just that. And then we're hoping to get you hooked on this. And maybe you can start getting up at 5:30 instead of 6 o'clock. Yeah, roll out of bed. Believe me, you don't want to do this, but once you're at it, it feels great. And then start doing the weights every other day and something aerobic every day. Yeah? And it doesn't matter if you're 90 years old or if you're 15 years old. The same principles apply. And you know what's really cool about doing it first thing in the morning? Because when I go on my bike ride late at night, which I often do, it takes me 20 minutes of hard aerobic exercise before I'm starting to dip into my fat reserves. I start burning fat. If I were to do this first thing in the morning, it's dark right now, so I'm not doing that right now, but if I were to bike first thing in the morning, I'd be dipping into my fat reserves by the 30th second. You're starting to burn fat immediately. If weight loss is your goal, do it first thing in the morning. And I said, it's impossible, I got this. Great. Work out at night. Okay? There's still huge benefits. I'm just telling you when it's best. Yeah, so empty stomach. If you have to work out at night, try to have it as far removed from your meal as possible. You'll dip into your fat reserves quicker. So to maximize the benefit, stagger the training. If you're walking, let's say you have a severe knee problem, let's say you have a severe ankle problem, and you can walk maybe at this pace, this is where you're at. Yeah? Or if you're severely overweight, then what you want to do, every 3 to 4 minutes, walk to what is your maximum, whatever that happens to be. And if that gets you a little bit out of breath, awesome, you're doing it. If you're already in really good shape, and you're pumping out 7-minute miles on your 10-mile run, let's have one day where we really just go way down in speed. We're talking 10-minute mile. And then accelerate it to a sprint where you're into 6-minute mile. And you just go back and forth that way. You have to alternate. You've got to keep your body guessing. Muscle confusion, we call it anaerobic confusion. If you do that simple principle, you're more than doubling the benefit. If you are adding weights to your aerobic program, you're doubling it again. We're talking 4 times the benefit. Yeah, we're not spending more time now. We're not spending more time. One day you're doing weights or some sort of muscle building. The other day you're doing something aerobic. 4 times the benefit. If you happen to be fortunate and you're a couch potato and you haven't exercised, the benefit is as much as 6-fold when you do it this way. 6-fold the benefit. A big Finnish study has proven these things. So it is absolutely incredible what you could do. It's about being smart. It's not about spending more time. Saw a study not that long ago that said to get any kind of benefits, it's exercise. You got to do at least 2 hours a day. And I said, I hope they don't publish that one. Because that is just so ridiculous. Who has 2 hours a day to do this? Well, some of us do, but most do not. And that is so discouraging. You can get tremendous results with doing the right thing in just 10 minutes. Does that mean you're an absolute peak condition? No. And also, folks, it's really important to remember that more exercise does not equals more health. There is a point where you're actually going into negative territory. Yeah? So once you start running beyond 45 minutes, or something that's very hard aerobically, 45 minutes, there is diminishing return. My first practice was professional athletes only. They were some of the unhealthiest bunch I've ever treated. All they cared about was their performance. I was doing damage control for their injuries, and I loved doing it for a while. Then got pretty much tired of just treating these sick athletes all the time and just their injuries, and all we were worried about was performance and not health. It is not a way to be. If your game is to win races, I am going to show you that today. But remember, after the race, we back off to health. Yeah? It's really important. So keep it mixed up. Technique is absolutely critical. Whether you're on a bike, whether you're walking, whether you're using weights, most mistakes come from weights. And most mistakes come from improper head position, not a strong enough core, or using machines. We see so many more injuries using machines than we do with free weights. If we can graduate to free weights at some point, and I know free weights seem intimidating, use little ones just to get the hang of it. Use free weights where you can. Your muscle recruitment will be increased by about 40% compared to machines. Is that machines is wasting your time? No. Remember, just getting off the couch and walking has huge benefit. I'm not talking about that. Using machines has huge benefit. I have an exercise machine back there that sometimes I just hop on. I don't feel like grabbing a weight, and I'll use that one really quick. It's hydraulics. Yeah, it has benefit. I'm just saying the most benefit by far is free weights or kettlebells. Dr. Stacey is our expert on kettlebells. We're going to show you a routine that we also going to have a handout for you. And it's a 10-minute workout. If you have 10 minutes once a week, do this one. Yeah, if you want it, it'll be on our Facebook or our website. We're probably going to have a YouTube link that this will be demonstrated also. A full DVD will also be available for purchase. All the other ones you can just search online and get, and that's why Lucas is taping this for us. So, what you want to do is utilize your time effectively. You're only doing this for 10 minutes. Have a 30-second break between sets. There's a couple of things I really want you to remember. One, keep your core pulled in. This is really important. Keep your core pulled in. This also applies if you're putting a baby in the back seat, in the car seat, right in the middle there. There is no good posture to do this, is there? Or you're moving a patient if you're into nursing, and you have to move a patient. Sometimes you just are put in these impossible positions. What do? You tighten your core, you pull it in. It is very, very difficult to hurt your back then. It is very difficult to hurt your back. So pull it in. Next rule is have the negative Z pattern. Okay, this is one from Dr. Jeff Spencer. He's a chiropractic physician who is Lance Armstrong's personal doctor and head of their team also, and has designed some of the workouts that I'm showing you. Jeff shared with me many of the details of what Lance is doing, because I am a rabid cycling fan. And so he shares me these cool little details a lot. He also has shared with me that he works with a doctor that treats Tiger Woods. I want you to know Tiger Woods, I hardly want to mention his name maybe, but I want you to know that Tiger Woods, right before every single game gets adjusted. Why? Because of what Dr. Stacey was saying. Get that nerves, get everything going perfect with all the muscle fibers, so everything's working and his swing stays the same. I know back when Michael Jordan was still playing for the Bulls, he would get adjusted a few minutes before every game, so his shot would be right on. So, why I got into this, I don't know, but Jeff Spencer teaches the cycling team, whenever they're lifting weights, you pull your neck in. Pretend you have a headrest behind there. Give yourself a double chin. It's called the negative Z pattern. And whenever you do the weights, this pulled in, it is extremely difficult to hurt yourself. And you will automatically have proper form. So, here we go. Pay close attention. This is your 10-minute workout. And based on this workout, we're going to just move it. The first one is squat. Okay? This is a really awesome one. If you want to make it really difficult, you can also put one leg behind you and go up and down on one leg. Does that make sense? And then repeat on the other one. Or, watch yourself. Or you put two weights in your hands and do it that way. Yeah? So, it's do about 8 to 12 of each of these and then move on to the next one. The next one is the lunge.
Can we go all the way down with my knee?
Why don't you go down partially? So theoretically you want to go down all the way down in the knee. If you have trouble with the knees, obviously you want to do less of it. Yeah. And then the other one. You do about 8 to 12 of those. Okay? It's quite tough. If you want to really work out your core, you try to put one foot ahead of the other so you're off balance and everything gets recruited. A good modification of this one is just to get yourself into that position. And notice my head going down like an elevator. Notice that? It's not going forward. It's going down like an elevator. And that's it. With weights, it's a great way to do it. If you have knee problems, you just do less of it. The next one, bench press. We're talking about equipment pretty soon, but we love doing this one on the ball. It is rather humbling because the ball is kind of shaky, it goes back and forth. Dr. Stacey's stomach is being recruited like mad along the sides here. The closer you have your feet together, the more unstable you are. And as you can tell, she's really fighting for balance there. It's a wonderful way to do it because what we find with the bench pressers is, especially the ones that are using a lot of weight, all that weight on the hard surface is pushing T6 out of place. Check out the garbage bins in these really big, I know I can't do the duplication, sorry. In the really big gyms, like Gold Gym, where all these really big guys come, check the garbage bins. It's really interesting. it's filled with medications for heartburn, Pepto-Bismol bottles, that type of thing. It is a known fact that these big-time weightlifters have tremendous stomach problems. One of the main reasons is one of their techniques pushes T6 out. Guess where T6 nerve root goes? Stomach. Affects stomach acid almost immediately. Combine that with some lousy whey protein that they're gobbling, and you're asking for a lot of stomach problems. Interesting, isn't it? So you totally avoid that by using the ball, because the weight is distributed nicely along the whole ball. Yeah? Or if you're using a bench, you raise it just an inch, maybe 2 inches, and you're distributing the weight all along the spine instead of focusing on just one area. So no damage control there. The next one is bent over row. You saw Lance doing that one in a real difficult way. This really gets the rhomboid muscles back through here. Very important one to work out, because most of our workout is always up front here, and this becomes way too strong and this not strong enough, and you get one of these. You don't need that. Great one. Also works the triceps. Seated shoulder press. Again, using the ball as our bench. Again, 8 to 12 reps each of this one. And then we can jump right into the biceps curl. Remember the negative Z pattern, pulling your stomach in. Whenever you can, you try to alternate like Dr. Stacey's doing, because most of our natural things that we do, like walking, running, everything is opposite from each other. It's quite hard on the body to do the same thing. So if you can do something alternate, you're going to get much better, more natural muscle recruitment without injury. Okay, seated triceps extension. You can do it this way. Yep. So this is one way to do it. Okay, make sure you can handle the weight. Don't drop this one on your head. Yeah. And then the crunch. You do this one until failure. Okay, it's great to do on the ball, because again, you're getting all the obliques, you're recruiting so many more muscles. And notice Dr. Stacey's not coming up all the way. If you really want to create a difficult task, you can go all the way back and come up just a little bit and hold. Yeah, it's really tough. So, great job, Dr. Stacey.
Yeah.
So, as you can tell, if you do 8 of these, each one, 10 minutes, you're good, right? If you want to put together a 20-minute program for weightlifting that covers the entire body, you do this one, you just do 2 sets of 8. If you go with the perfect body, such as Bill Phillips, he's a best-selling author on exercise, he really knows what he's doing with this. And Bill Phillips describes how he'll do that up to 4 times per set. Each set increasing difficulty and working each muscle to complete failure. Okay, now we're talking what the big boys are doing. Do we need to do that? No. I prefer myself 2 sets of 8, doing them fairly rapidly. One is time effective, prevents you from getting too bored with it, and is the best of both worlds, where you're not developing too much bulk and you're not doing too much leanness. You don't want to look like a Kenyan marathon runner, but you don't want to also be one of those huge guys, because that generally is hard to maintain. We're going after health here. So, how often a week is the ideal? 3 times a week. 3 times a week, 20 minutes. Can you do more? Absolutely. Will you get more benefit? Yes. But that's about where the benefits start dropping off, until finally at 45 minutes to an hour, you don't gain more health. Yeah? 20 minutes is a really easy to do. I prefer doing light warm-up before you do this. You can do some jumping jacks, you can jump rope, you can just do some light stretching. If you stretch too much before lifting weights, or before sprinting, or before biking, you have weakened your muscle by as much as 20%. So warm-up and light stretching is absolutely essential. Stretching afterwards is where you're going to gain your flexibility. Have you noticed that as we age, that our hamstrings I can't move it anymore. It's not doing nearly, whereas before you used to be able to just put your nose right on your knee. You can get that back. It takes some work. It does take some work, but you do it by stretching slowly a fully warmed up muscle after you're done exercising. Very important, because this will set your muscle up for the next day's exercise. You will not have the shortening of the muscle that accompanies strengthening. When I first opened my first practice, I would see some of these guys that I remembered from the 60s, and they'd come in and still like this. So I do my exam, and part of the exam was always a postural exam, just to check for scoliosis and hip leveling and shoulder leveling. Said, okay, straighten out, arms down. Okay, relax. Let's try that again. Straighten out. Relax. I was absolutely shocked. As a little kid, I remembered walking. I must have looked so ludicrous, you know, the skinny little arms. But I'd be walking around like that because all the big guys were walking around like that. And here I thought it was the cool thing to do. Now I recognize this is how it felt best, because in relaxed position, their triceps were just huge, but they also shortened, and it was in most relaxed position this way. You don't want to be that way. You don't want to be as strong as an ox and as slow as a locomotive. You don't want to be there. Don't you think the way Lance looks is a much better way, healthier way? He can sprint, he can perform when he needs to. You want to be balanced, and stretching is part of that. And as we age, there's one thing we definitely lose, and that is flexibility. There's some things that seem almost inevitable, such as hearing and such as sight. But I can tell you one thing, that building muscle, we do not really lose as we age. This is a really important point. Interesting study. I read studies for fun, sorry, I'm a nerd. And so you're going to get lots of studies here. And this study took 90-plus-year-olds that had been bedridden for more than 3 months. Could not walk. And this was a very large study. They put a personal trainer on each one of them and made them start doing weightlifting in bed, doing what they can, get some flexibility. This was not physical therapy, this was muscle building. And would you know that greater than 90% of them, after 6 weeks, were no longer bedridden, could walk freely? We're not talking stumbling, but freely. It is amazing how they, on average, doubled their muscle strength in 10 days. On average. It is amazing how fast you can build muscle at any age. There goes that excuse. Yeah? So, and it was struck home a couple of weeks ago. A patient whose mom, who was approaching 90, had been put in the hospital because she fractured a hip and she needed a lot of work, and they made her do exercise, and she was coming out of the hospital. She had to do physical therapy, and she was active, could walk. She says, it's so frustrating. Mom is now again sitting on the couch and watching TV, and she's going right back to her old self again. It's also amazing how fast you lose it, isn't it? So it's really important to maintain independence that we keep exercising.
The reason for that is for every decade you are old, it takes that many months to get back into it, get your body back balanced and ready.
Yeah.
The older you get, the worse it gets.
So some of the common pitfalls, and there's so many pitfalls. Where do you start? Well, one of those is stretching when, and we discussed that one. The common pitfalls, always one of the most common pitfalls is time. And getting up first thing in the morning, getting it out of the way, things happen during the day, nothing will get in your way. Do your core exercises at the beginning of the day. Yeah? Something like this. Show you my bike. Okay? I am not going to be out there at 5 o'clock in the morning bicycling. Yeah? It does not work. This is what I do. If my day is a little bit shorter, it looks like I don't have to help the kids with homework, and I make sure the wife says, okay if I go for my hour and a half ride, and so everything is cool. It's icing on the cake. I go for my bike ride. Yeah? And it's wonderful. It's a huge luxury to be able to do that. I already did my core exercises. This is just a bonus. But doing this or playing tennis with the kids or shooting a soccer ball around, all those things, count them as extra, but have your core exercise in place. And what is your core exercise? Do weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, do something aerobic, whatever it is. Something. It could be a walk, hike, run. What's another common pitfall, Dr. Stacey?
The other one is, I hear a lot of is, I hurt too bad to exercise. I hurt too bad to exercise. And you can, I have a lot of patients that have a hard time walking with knee issues or anything. So I'll have them sit on the couch and either get a pair of bands or a pair of weights and just do the arm exercises. And then if I put a band on them, I'll have them stretch with bands or use their leg to push the bands and things like that. And that just gets them up to the point where they can move around and start doing more of a 10-minute exercise. So just because we can't be ambulatory and walk, we can still use our arms and build up some muscle mitochondria that way.
And don't underestimate bands. They are incredible. Adam, who's studying at my alma mater in Amsterdam, he can't take his weights. Slight charge up on the airplane. And so he took along tubing with handles, and it's mean tubing. It's very tough to do bicep curls with it, and he can tighten and lower it, and he gets a complete workout just using bands. It takes up no space. I think I bought the whole set for him for $15, includes handles. He's happy as it can be with that, and you can do anything you want. So glad you mentioned bands. Yeah. Another one is that things happen and you fall off the wagon. This happens to us all, and have you all experienced it? It takes us forever to get back on. Why is that? It's guilt. We start feeling guilty about this, and when you start feeling guilty, it's a negative emotion. You don't want to do it again. You just don't want to do it again, so you delay it. It's a subconscious thing. Have a 10-minute exercise plan in place that you'll do no matter what. This was one of them. Mine is actually very simple. I like to do something every day. Chin-up bar, I'll do a bunch of pull-ups. I'll do just 10 push-ups, and I'll do 10 of those sit-ups, Dr. Stacey. I call it done. I'm done for the day. I did my exercise. I feel good about it. I exercised a lot of my body. Was it perfect? No. Did it keep things going? Oh yeah, it kept things going right up here. Didn't fall off the wagon. As soon as the schedule opens up again, you're up and running again. Does that make sense? So keep it going. Keep the engine idling, so to speak. And then go again when things are right.
If you do a nice strong 1-mile walk, good pace where you're actually getting your heart rate up, you can get the same amount of exercise out of cleaning your house for 2 hours as doing a 1-mile walk if you're vigorous at cleaning. So,
I like the 1-mile walk. So what kind of equipment do you need for this? Well, I brought my bag to show and tell. Shoes. These are my running shoes. And I like to keep things as functional as they possibly can be. So, in theory, you should be running barefoot. Well, no one in their right mind is going to be doing that. Glass, everything on the road. Why would you want to run barefoot in the first place? You've noticed in Boston Marathon, Kenyon, again, who won this year, barefoot. Yeah. So, what is this with that crazy technique? When I was doing sprinting, all the way to college level, I was a 100 and 200 meter sprinter, and my record is still tied for first place. But that record that I broke was done using no track shoes, no spikes, barefoot. And it's my coach that was way ahead of his time back then that showed, Adrian, what's going on is your foot is part of your ambulation. It's part of the functional unit. It's got muscles in it. It's got power. You don't want to isolate it too much. And it totally changed the stride, because believe me, if you have a lot of protection in your shoe, lots of cushion, as they always call it, you're extending your stride out this way. Because you can land on it, because you got this giant spring in the shoe. So here you are running this way, on your wonderful shoes, creating all kinds of hip and knee problems, misalignments. The running shoe is responsible for 70% of the injuries today. 70% of runners who run 3 miles or more per day have some sort of running injury every year. Which product is out there that has a 70% failure rate, that isn't getting sued or pulled off the market? The running shoe has a 70% failure rate. If you go to barefoot technology, either running barefoot or run on a shoe that mimics barefoot, and see there's not much, it's extremely flexible. So you can feel every single annulation of the field or road. That injury rate drops down to less than 10%. Numbers do not lie. This is why Nike has produced barefoot technology shoes. Great for just running around, by the way. And yes, for the ladies, I picked these up. Come on, said my wife, I bet you won't wear these. She's wearing them. So, available in other colors too. So a running shoe is a wonderful investment. Do you have to do barefoot technology? No. But it is important if you're going to go with a more traditional shoe that it gets fit to you exactly right. I use Gazelle Sports for it because all these guys and gals are extreme runners and they know what they're doing. And whether you're into walking or running 2 miles a day or running into 20 miles a day, do get fit well. So another thing that you have to have is a ball. That is your workbench. It's a very inexpensive piece of equipment. You can do anything on it. You can custom make, you can custom design exercise routine for you. Leah, who does all the exercises and rehabilitation for us, would be happy to show you what we designed for you, and you can take off of that from there. Obviously, incredible for core. It works great as a workbench, and we like to use it for virtually everything. A mat is absolutely critical, unless you have a very well carpeted floor. The way Lance was throwing down those weights, you better have a cement floor underneath that carpet when you're doing that. So a good mat you can get at Sam's Club. The one I got was from Sam's Club or Costco, $50. It's a nice big mat. It doesn't set you back that much. The weight set that I have at home is nothing like this one. This is a nice one that you just dial in whatever pounds you want and out it lifts. It prevents me from having all the individual dumbbells all lined up. You can just dial it in. But the one I have at home was just a piece of metal with screw thread, and you screw it on, and the whole 80-pound set, that's all it is, because I'm not into heavy weights, what was cost me less than $50. Yeah. If you can get the one that has the clips on it where you just squeeze and then slide off, and you can throw weights on and off, that's a little bit easier than, I kind of wish I had that because threading them on and off is kind of a pain. But other than that, you don't have to go fancy. But if you can, this shirt is nice. It can replace a complete weight set. We have 2 of those. And this one here goes up to 50 pounds each. All the way down to 5 pounds. As far as equipment, aerobic, for the wintertime, it's very hard to beat skipping rope. It's extremely functional. Keep this pulled in, put your head back. It is phenomenal, the aerobic exercise you can get with that. Yeah? Walking outside is obviously great. Use the interval training. Jogging is great. Cycling, anything aerobic. But make sure, again, shoes is basically all you need. If you're into something like bicycling, really do some research. You do not need a fancy bike. I've ridden an old bike. It was a really nice steel frame bike that I really liked. It was made in 1976 until just 2 years ago when I finally decided to upgrade. I kind of wrote it to make the point to everybody that you don't have to have the fanciest equipment to have fun. But now I've got this carbon bike, and I'm wondering why I didn't do it sooner. But what's really nice about good equipment is that it just dampens all the vibrations from the road. So it's really good for an old body like mine. And plus it's kind of fun to pretend you're like Lance. Well, thanks. So So when you do it, make sure you have proper hydration. For my long rides, I have 2 water bottles that I fill with Endura, just like they do in Tour de France. And that helps my recovery for the next day. And of course, what you have to do is you have to have the proper shorts. I told you it was showing up. And it's got a chamois in it, which really makes this a little nicer. It's really nice to have a tight shirt. We've sponsored Ada Bike Team, so it's got DBC written on it, and isn't that cool? DBC. It's important to have the proper clothes. Gloves takes the vibration out of your wrist so you don't get the carpal tunnel syndrome. So all that stuff that looks the way it does, and you think, I think that's a little over the top, actually has good function. And if you get into it, it's important. And most important of all, I really wouldn't be standing here today if I didn't have this helmet. Helmets are incredibly comfortable. Is a must-do. I wiped out on this bike at 35 miles an hour last year. I literally flew more than 30 feet through the air and landed on my head. I did land on my head. It landed right here. This helmet, it doesn't really show, but it's fractured in 5 pieces. It absorbed the shock beautifully. It distributed the shock all the way around. Yes, I had a massive headache, but I walked away from it. And this front piece was completely snapped through, which one of my patients fixed beautifully with carbon, and we repainted it, and can't tell it even crashed. It's beautiful, except the seat's still a little beat up. It's worth it. It's worth it. I would not have survived this. Without, no doubt about it, I would not have survived it, except for God's grace and a helmet. Yeah? So good equipment is really, really important. It really is. All right.
I had no idea I was supposed to bring my saddle boots, spurs, and caps.
What's that?
I had no idea I was supposed to bring my saddle boots, spurs, and caps. So equipment is fun. It does not have to cost a lot of money. You can outfit an entire gym for $150. You do not have to get these fancy machines. You do not need a fancy bike in order to get fit. You need good shoes. You need a weight set, maybe a jumping rope, a ball, and I really like a chin-up bar also. A chin-up bar allows you to get the incredible physique this way, but it's great for back strength. It works everything in the upper part of your body, so it works literally 65% of your muscles just by doing a pull-up. If you cannot do a pull-up, what you do is you get a chair, say the pull-up bar is right here, get a chair underneath it, and with one leg, just assist yourself. You can do this at any age. Even if you're not able to do one pull-up, you can do that. And slowly on, you can decrease the amount of help you're giving, and 6 or 7 pull-ups, you're done. It doesn't take much. Yeah, it doesn't take much. And we're going to take questions right away after. So, equipment needed, can I go way beyond that? Of course, but that's the basics. Did anything I missed? No? So, developing your workout schedule. Hey, you know what? That's a start. 10 minutes once a week will get you started. You will see benefits. I'm trying to sell this to you. Yeah? 10 minutes 3 times a week, definite results. You'll notice something with 10 minutes. If you're a couch potato, you will. 10 minutes 3 times a week, no question about it. In 6 weeks, you can start seeing changes, not just feeling them. Yeah? And you can go from there. And remember, when you mix up aerobic and strength, you're getting a minimum of 4 times the benefit. You're really making time work for you. So, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, first thing in the morning, hit the weights. Tuesday, Thursday, do something aerobic. If you have the luxury of doing something on a Saturday, that's your long, slow, aerobic, whatever you want to do. Yeah? And don't be dumb like I was this last Saturday. I took these Nike Frees, which are really more for short distance. I decided I'm going to do my 10-mile run,
and I'm going to do the fastest time I have this year. So I had it was a very fast one, and wouldn't you know it, at mile 9, oh, I don't think I can make it home. It just froze up, and so here I am. Good. Oh, no patience. So I'm walking with my gaze averted, and then pretty soon I could get it going again, and I got home, and my wife took one look at me and said, "Oh, not bad." And some of these guys never learn, but that was a great time to walk to the mile 9. It really was. So you want to ramp up to do what you're capable of. And looking back, it was just a really long week, long hours here. So I put in a lot of hours, was probably a little bit tired, then decided to spread wood chips all day, and then went for a run. I mean, how dumb is that? Really, you've got to think about what you're doing, and was there any benefit to doing this? No, not at all, except bragging rights, and I obviously couldn't do that now. So make sure you're well rested. If you're going to do something and reach a new height, make sure you're ready for it, make sure you're rested, that you're hydrated. Yeah. And there's a lot of choices when it comes to nutrition. And Jeff Spencer has taught me a lot about what we do for the extreme athlete. There's many choices. For just plain muscle building, what they use in Tour de France is something called Endura. Notice I have 2 bottles on my bike. And so for my long rides, I make sure they're filled with Endura. It gives you just a little bit of carbohydrates to burn for long distances, so your muscles don't bonk, freeze up on you. And number 2, it gives you all the electrolytes, and number 3, it does taste pretty good. So Endura is something that we put in there, available in cycling shops. We have it here also. And it's one of the better ones that's out there. If you go with something like Gatorade, professional athletes do not drink Gatorade. It is food color. It is artificial ingredients. It is bad. Great TV spots, not so good for performance. CLAs, conjugated linoleic acid. Last time I started using that for about a month, I had to get all new shirts because with the same workout routine, it's amazing how it activates the insulin receptors on the muscles and muscles only, and also many studies have demonstrated how it burns specifically fat. So this is one of our best fat burners, as well as activating insulin receptors on muscles, so obviously it builds muscle. My wife wasn't too pleased when we had to change out my shirts, so I went off of that again. But CLA is a great one to get muscle built quickly. Insulin also affects the insulin signaling, and if you have that tire that sits right here, and you need to get rid of that specifically, insulin will do that, and it's very noticeable. Because this is a sign of insulin resistance, which is a precursor to diabetes. It produces inflammation, fatigue, and insulin helps get rid of that. Ultra Meal is one of the best protein drinks out there. It's very inexpensive. It's a lot cheaper than most protein drinks out there. Just straight Ultra Meal if you don't have any sugar level issues. If you want to really activate the insulin and make it go where you want it to go, Ultra Meal 360 is the way to go. It is the best one out there. This year alone, more than 13 or 14 studies are being published with Ultra Meal 360 through independent groups which show how they decrease inflammation, help joint health, lower cholesterol, decrease body fat, get your patients out of pre-diabetic state, things like that. It's got a lot of research behind that one. When you do a protein drink, do it within 30 minutes after working out. 30 minutes, that's your time frame. Why? Because that's when muscle repair is occurring, and you want to feed the protein to the muscles. If you do a little exercise like a walk for 20 minutes, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. But if you're really pumping the iron and you're taking it to a level that you think, okay, I'm going to be sore tomorrow, take some protein, and I like the soy-based proteins a whole lot better than the whey ones because whey tends to be dirty. It tends to make you fat around the middle, and it has very powerful negative connotations as far as cardiovascular diseases. Okay. Muscle repair. Vitamin C has been shown to decrease muscle soreness the next day. Ultra potency has been tested specifically because it is the only fat-soluble vitamin C out there. Its absorption is 6-fold compared to regular C. Lance Armstrong will take 20 of these when he's through the Pyrenees and Alps in France doing Tour de France. That's 20,000 units of vitamin C a day. And that's an unbelievable amount, but it gets his muscles ready for the next day of competition. Because it's one of the cycling magazines, I saw a picture of Lance in his room gathering, I saw a bottle of Ultra Potency and some other things that I very much recognize sitting there, so I asked Jeff Spencer about it. He says, yeah, we give him 20 of those a day. It's just unbelievable. Most of my patients, if I give 10 a day, they've got diarrhea. But obviously his body's using it up due to stress. Tissue Flex is a new French product which has revolutionized how we look at anti-inflammatories in Europe. Most of the anti-inflammatories being used in this country are illegal there due to cardiovascular risk, cartilage degeneration, and risk of rupture of tendons. You'd be shocked by all the negative news that we have on these products. So they've been looking for alternatives, and they've gone the natural route when it comes to these. And found that a combination of hops and several minerals has shown better anti-inflammatory effects than the most potent drugs out there. It is, I just saw a patient this morning who came in with partial frozen shoulder just a week and a half ago, was losing motion, had put her on this, she comes in, no frozen shoulder. 3 years ago, that would have taken me 3 to 4 months of work. It's shocking how we've been able to reduce our patient visits with this. I suspect about 70% fewer patient visits for most conditions when we use Tissue Flex. Fiberplex Plus is really interesting. This has become the new rehydration drink besides Endura for extreme events because it reduces muscle soreness the next day by 50%. I do P90X. Anybody know what P90X is? Yeah, I do P90X for 3 months out of the year. This year was kind of a little shorter. But I love P90X first thing in the morning. Through the winter months, it seems to just get you in shape for the winter. But the first 3 weeks are just horrible as far as muscle soreness goes. This is what I use to get the muscle soreness down. Yeah. It comes from Australia and was originally for fibromyalgia to reduce muscle pain there. And then some doc decided, hey, this might work for my athletes. It does, and several studies have shown it. Kinesiotape we've talked about. Tramiel, German product. If you are into watching European soccer at all, you'll notice that Tramiel is often on the billboards all around where they advertise. Tramiel is huge for soccer players. It was actually designed for soccer players, so if they sprain an ankle or a knee, it swells up, you slap Tramiel on it, and it reduces swelling within a half an hour more than ice ever could. It reduces downtime from that injury by more than 50% if you can get it on within an hour. Put this in your glove box. Your car is usually where you're at when you need it. Is when you at least that's what I do. It's always in my glove box because it seems like my car is supposed to where I'm at most of the time, and that's what we apply for injuries. So pretty cool stuff. Okay. Now what does this have to do with it? On Facebook. I'm giving you a preview of what's on Facebook. We're on Facebook now. And I keep my patients up to date with what's going on. We usually like to choose at least one meal at denBoer family, what we've made. The last one that was published a week ago was beets and beet leaves and carrots and onions all put together. It was one of the things that I had just thrown in. I'm known as the king of easy, and so if you see something that just takes 10 minutes, that's me. But this one here was a much more elaborate meal, and I'll give you just an idea what this looks like. This is the perfect carbohydrate meal for long distance events. Yeah, this is not your perfect meal for weightlifting. And really what this is I use my cheat notes here because my oldest son made this one. It's called pineapple fried rice. And really what he did is use leftover rice, and he undercooked it a bit, so because he's going to reheat it, and then it gets cooked all the way, and he threw some onions, some chopped pineapple, some red pepper, bean sprouts, ginger and garlic, and dried chilies. Just threw it all, put it together. It's sweet, with some oil and salt and vinegar, and the recipe will be on Facebook. And made an absolutely delicious dish. Fair bit of work. It's something that you really want to take your time for. It's not an easy dish to make, but wow, is it rewarding. It almost tastes like a dessert. Notice all the different colors in there? It's got tons of colors. Colors are good. When you put colors together, you're making protein. You do not need protein with this meal. It's already there. Your body will make it. This is the complete meal. I barbecued some salmon. We found some wild Atlantic salmon and threw that on the grill along with pineapple. And then the asparagus was wrapped in wax paper and allowed to simmer very slowly in the oven for several hours at only 150 degrees. It makes for incredible tasting asparagus. All the spices put on there permeate through it, and that's a pretty fancy looking meal, isn't it? So we were delighted to eat that one. This plate, by the way, this comes to portion size. This plate is these are the plates we use for bread. It's only this big. Okay? So it looks like a big meal, but it's not. All these portions are very modest. Portion control is critical if you're trying to lose weight. Because you'll notice when you first start exercising that your appetite's going to go up. Be careful with that at first. Be careful with that at first. It's always good for me to go back to my old home country, the Netherlands, because we'll have tea in the morning or coffee, and you get this dainty little cup with your coffee. It's black, nothing in it. And beside it, there's this nice little cookie about this big and about that skinny. You can literally look through it. It's that skinny, and that's what you get. That's it. Then for lunch, the Dutch will usually have one sandwich with one little piece of something on it, and they'll have 2 cups of tea with it, maybe something else. The quantity is literally at least a half, if not a third of what we eat. It is. They outlive us by 5 to 7 years. Their functional life is way beyond ours. And believe me, it's not due to all healthy habits. They outsmoke us, they outdrink us. Yeah, they probably outparty us, as you can see on the canals there. Yeah, so there's a lot of unhealthy things that they do, but yet they are very healthy. And part of that is portion control, because we know there's one scientifically proven way to extend life expectancy, and that is decreasing calories. It so far has been the only proven way to do it. The only proven way to do it is decreasing calories, and you'll live longer. What kind of calories? Of course, it's going to be huge. You want it to be colorful. You want it to be mixed. You want it to be mostly vegetables. If you're going to have meats, make it modest and make them high quality. And keep the portions down. Your body adapts to large portions very quickly. I'll tell you a little funny story, because we're getting way too serious here. And here it is. When I first moved here, our church was having this barbecue, and thought, well, the American thing, we'll come to the barbecue, and so here we came. Back then, we just had 3 little boys, 5 kids now. And so here we went to the barbecue, and they said, "Here, Doc, here's your meat." And I pull up my big paper plate, and plop, there it goes. Look at this thing, and I start cutting it up into 5 pieces, and kind of look at me. He said, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm just dividing it up for my family." No, that's yours. And I thought, that's unbelievable. I could not believe it that one size big piece of meat was just for me. But that's how we are, isn't it? And just think of how your body has to process it, has to break it down. It just toxifies your kidneys. Your kidneys have to run so hard for at least 36 hours, just trying to get rid of some of that protein. It is so hard on the body. Can it do it? Yeah. And the more you do it, the more effective it gets at it. But it's such a load. Try lowering the portion size for once. Increase the colors, and I promise you, in just 2 days, you'll feel different. Brain brightens up because a lot of energy that's being diverted doing all this work goes back up here again. Muscles grow faster. you're not wasting energy processing food. Yeah? So that's a really important piece of advice. And really what I wanted to get you to get out of this picture is, one, you don't have to suffer when you're eating healthy, yeah, at all. This is very tasty food. And number two, and by the way, this was a celebratory meal. This is by no means a cheap and an easy meal, but I thought once for fun I could throw that one out. But the portion is really, the portion size is also very important. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Dr. Stacey?
No, just when you start eating that way, everything else is terrible.
Yeah, you don't get to know the truth. You lose your cravings. And you can ride past any donut place and you don't even want it. Yeah, you really don't. Yeah. So at that point, it's no longer willpower, is it? So exercise. What's the key? Get started. Number two, do it smart. Use interval training. Mix aerobics with some sort of strengthening. Make sure you've got the basic equipment. And make sure you do it first thing in the morning. 10 minutes, 5 days a week is huge if you're not exercising right now. If you're running in towards marathons and triathlons, give yourselves days off. This is so important. Make sure, this is an important tidbit that I missed, that you are measuring your heart rate at least twice a week if you're into the more extreme stuff. If it goes up by an average of 6 points over your baseline, you are overtraining. You need to give yourself a week break. If you're really in good condition, you can give yourself a break for up to 10 days without losing any performance. Performance starts going down after the 10th day, so no need to panic. My biggest challenge with these patients is for them to slow down, slow down. You get more out of it if you put breaks in there. And make sure every 4th week is a break week. Very, very important. And this also is important for weights, folks. Okay? It's not about reaching new heights all the time. It's about mixing it up. And after 3 months, if you're still doing the exact same thing, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to do something different. Get a bike or rollerblades or do something different. It's very important. The only thing that you can maintain all the time as your core are 2 things. One is abdominal sit-ups, but even those should be changed up a little bit, and walking. Those 2 things I want you to try to maintain your whole life. Hi, I'm Dr. denBoer, board certified naturopathic doctor and chiropractic physician. Beside me here is Dr. Stacey, board certified and licensed chiropractic physician as well. We both work here at DBC, getting our patients well, and what we're demonstrating here tonight is a 10-minute workout using your own body as weight, as well as weights and a ball. That's all the equipment you'll need. Studies have shown using this workout, you will get results if you just do 10 minutes once a week. You could do this same workout, 10 minutes, 3 times a week, and get better results. Use 1 set of 8 for each. Do them slowly, powerfully. Pull your stomach in, push your head back while doing it. If you want to get optimum results, you can do 2 sets of 8 each. Now you're doing 20 minutes 3 times a week. You are going to see results. If you do it first thing in the morning, you will be burning fat immediately. If you do it later in the day, it takes about 20 minutes to start burning fat. So I prefer if you do it before breakfast or 2 or 3 hours after a meal. One other key component that you want to remember, if you can do something aerobic on alternate day, let's say you're working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday with weights, and then Tuesday and Thursday you do something aerobic, and you use some training that's a little variable. If you're walking, you break into a jog every 3-4 minutes for 1 minute, or if you're running, you run at regular pace and go to a sprint for 1 minute every 3 or 4 minutes, and do that for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Combined with this weights, you're going to get 4 times the benefit overall. It's about being smart. It's not about time. If you could invest that amount of time, Monday through Friday, and do the fun things on weekends, wow, you can get fit quick. But to get started, and you want to see results with minimal effort, you can do this 10-minute workout. Just starting today. So let's get to work. What Dr. Stacey is going to recommend, is going to do first is the squat. And here's how you do it. Notice the weights in the hand going straight up and down. We're utilizing the ball. So we do 8 of those. Give it a 30-second break. And then what you do after that, we're going to do a lunge. Notice the weights in the hands, upright posture. We're keeping our head back. Core is tight. A modified version of it is just standing in a position like that and going down a little bit if you have knee problems. Make sure your head goes straight up and down while doing this. Do it slowly. Bench press. On the ball, it's unstable. Dr. Stacey's recruiting all the muscles along the side here. Great recruitment in front. We're dividing all the weight on the back of the back so her thoracics aren't being pushed out of place by doing massive weights on a hard surface. We often see that problem as chiropractic physicians, that the upper back gets thrown out by this one. This is the perfect way to do it. Next is the bent over row. A very important one. And you can get different angles by going further over or up. So there's all kinds of ways you can do it. Do 8 each side. Give it a 30-second break. And then do the seated shoulder press. Again, head positioned back, core pulled in. Give it a 30-second break. After 8 of them, do the biceps curl. You can do it alternate to save time. This is better than doing both at the same time. Our natural motion tends to be opposite with walking, running. Try to mimic that, whatever move you do. It's truly functional training. The seated triceps extension is next. Make sure you do this one slowly. Don't use too much weight. I hate for this thing to fall on your head. 8 of those. And then doing a crunch on the ball. You come up and back. Always in motion, never resting. Great for the obliques. Gives you the best results. Do till failure. That's it. 10 minutes done. Complete workout. This could also be your backup exercise if you ever run out of time and you have a more complete exercise program. Or like I said, we could do 2 sets of 8, 3 times a week. You should get results quickly with this. Go for it.